Just that. The first day, it was good. They worked hard. They got pushed hard, and they responded to it very well. There's a lot of very fit men in this group.
You got to yell a little bit. Sound like you were getting into game shape.
Well, I'm trying not too much early, right? Because you can't lose your voice in the first 3 days. So you gotta. Tempo and pace and energy, the things we ask from the players. The coaches will like to bring that too. 2 or 3 of us will lose our voice by day 4, and then the other guys got to yell more. Right? We just spread it around a little.
You said yesterday that you wanted to see them being physical today. You were going to do a lot on the boards. Are you happy with what you saw?
Yeah, so we're not looking to see how tough they are. We got a good handle on these guys, but the game is played along the walls. So as you saw, we finished a good 20 minutes along the walls toward the end. It's also pretty taxing for them to do that, and then skated them after. So that last half hour practice is not a fun time to be a pro hockey player, but the game's played there. So I would say that would be my takeaway. We put a pretty stiff practice in place for them, and really pleased yesterday on the early returns of the fitness reporting. Very pleased. And you can see it because they were able to, in a tough practice, still push straight to the end. So there's a lot of very fit men that trained hard that came ready for camp.
Is that kind of about expectation setting day one? You want to know, make sure these guys know what they're in for, what you're.
Yeah, we're going to do things a certain way, so we're all new coaching staff, some new players. There's going to be a level. I didn't feel that I needed to, and I felt this as the practice is going, that you need to get their attention. So you're going to run a practice so hard today to get there that you'll never run again. We just practiced the way we're going to practice, and it was hard. And they handled it. It wasn't easy for them, and we got them bent over a number of times. So we pushed them hard. They can handle it.
Paul, there have been a number of first days, obviously, in your hockey life, but that first day of school, first Christmas, I think was the term you used yesterday. Is there still that energy, those jitters, that excitement when a game just rolls along?
It's just like a game, right? So the coaches' games sometimes are practices too. So you just do this tremendous amount of work to put together the 6 minutes of video that you show before, and then you just finally get on the ice, right? So you know the drills and that part. There's an awful lot of work that comes to scheduling a camp, putting it all together. It's not always fun to do, right? The paperwork, the logistics of it, but getting on the ice with these guys was fun. And then the experience we would have had, the meetings after with the coaches. These guys can handle it. They can push hard. That's a good pro group.
You knew what you were getting for Christmas, but was it still fun to unwrap?
Yeah, I think we just got through the first layer of wrapping. I'm going to be real careful about this. I'm still shaking the box. Is probably a better. Yeah.
Radko said that he feels like you put an expectation that it's going to be playoff mode from day one, that there's no point in waiting for that sort of intensity.
Well, there's no point in practicing for something that's not going to happen. The game that's played at the end of the season is by far, it's quite a bit different than the game in the regular season, and understandable. You can't play 82. There'd be nothing left of these men if they did that. But how we practice and how we prepare has to be related to that, because it's a challenge for every team to make the playoffs. It shocks you to say that, but it's true. Tampa Bay goes to the Stanley Cup final, they don't make the playoffs. This is a difficult sport, and we have to prepare for that.
What's your mindset behind putting line combos on day one of camp? Because we saw a lot of them in a blender today.
Yeah, well, it really almost, my starting point was pairs of things they knew before or familiarity. So we've had Verhaeghe and Barkov together. Tkachuk and Bennett know each other. So whoever I play Tkachuk with, it's going to be new, but that's the familiarity. You've got Lundell and Reinhart together, so there's your 6. Anthony declares out. So that's the structure of it. It actually wasn't for me in a blender. And then we just filled in holes. And those aren't, hey, this is something I'm going to see if it works for 3 weeks. We're going to move people around each day, get a look at them. But even on the first day, I'm not looking at, even the drills that we ran, you're not feeling any chemistry off. You're just feeling work. We're doing there's some basic system things that we worked on, almost, I would say, components of our game, not full systems, and we'll just add that as we go. But in terms of assessing what will work in lines, that's a year-long thing more than just day one of training camp.
Well, you mentioned Lundell. I know you're only just getting to know him, but for a 20-year-old, just what are your first impressions of Anton Lundell heading into his sophomore season here?
Yeah, I mean, you would see that from video as well. He's an exceptionally bright young man. very excited about where he can get to. He's a good pro. The hardest thing sometimes with these young guys, and we would say, is turning them pro. All of the things that go into being a great hockey player, not just, you know, when you're a kid, grab your bag and away you go to the rink and, hey, I'm a great player. There's all the training, all the National Hockey League. It does take years of education for they understand every team has a different style. Each player on the ice, each opponent that you face has a different set of challenges. You got to learn what door of the rink you got to walk into, right? There's a lot to learn when you're new to the NHL. Having 1 year experience is really going to be a benefit for him. I'll just really enjoy watching him grow.
In Lundell, would there be any thought to moving him around a little bit, or do you
Yeah.
like him at center, or could you try him on the wing?
Well, I love him at center, but that doesn't mean he won't play the wing. We've got a bunch of guys here, Reinhardt, players that for sure can play center ice, but we don't want to play with everything at once. Bennett's, you know, just had such a fantastic resurgence in his career going back into the middle, so we'll be patient with that for sure. Yeah, the decision, and so if I'm asking the question, I would ask, have you decided whether you're with Anthony's injury, are you loading up 2 lines, or are you going to split them across 3? And then I would say, well, we're going to see about how that's how that would go. Well, we'll see how it goes.
Thank you guys. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Paul.
Okay, guys, thank you.